Brought to you by Penguin.
Unfaithful music and disappearing ink. This is the author, Elvis Costello. For those who came before, and those who are still to come. Along with your tweezers and your handkerchief, you murder time and truth, love laughter and belief. So don't try to touch my heart, it's darker than you think. And don't try to read my mind, because it's full of disappearing ink. All the rage. Chapter 1. A White Boy in the Hammersmith Palais. I think it was my love of wrestling that first took me to the dance hall. There was barely a week of my childhood in which I did not have the following dialogue with a stranger. Any relation? I beg your pardon? You know, any relation to the wrestler? My mother might wearily manage an indulgent laugh as if to say, you know, I've never heard that before in my life. I just felt awkward. Though I suspected that I might indeed be a distant relation of Mick McManus, a professional wrestler who was a fixture on the Saturday afternoon televised bouts. The contests in the early 60s had none of the pyrotechnics of the modern spectacle, just well-oiled showmen like Jackie Pallo and Johnny Quango, grappling and hurling sweaty lunks around and sometimes out of a small roped ring. Mick McManus spelled his name like my papa had before my dad added an A to make it M-A-C-M-A-N-U-S, because it looked posher and better in print. Anyone could see that I shared the same stocky physique with the man you love to hate. I had similar plastered-down black hair. Later, it was revealed that, like me, Mick could only be forced into submission by tickling. Late in his career, Mick suffered a rare defeat when his opponent used that dastardly tactic, and the champ renounced the match in disgust. Back in 1961, I would practice my flying scissors kick in front of the television, and then crumple as if felled by a forearm smash. Eventually, all my jumping off the furniture became too much for the neighbors, and my mother wanted to tidy the house. So she persuaded my dad to take me with him to work on Saturday afternoons at the Hammersmith Palais. This was my father's place of employment, his office, his factory. It was just an old tram shed that had been converted into a palais de danse, jammed between the Laurie Arms pub and a parade of shops just off Hammersmith Broadway. While other dads came home at 5:30, my father went to work at 6 p.m., or in this case, on Saturday afternoon, to sing with the Joe Loss Orchestra. The walls of the palais looked as if they were made of dark velvet, but it came off like powder if you ran your hand along it. It smelt and felt strange. It didn't seem like a place for children. Today it is hard to imagine any establishment opening in the afternoon for so few patrons. But when the Joe Loss Orchestra evolved into view on a turntable bandstand, you would forget it was still light outside. I was given a bottle of lemonade and a packet of crisps, and was secured in the balcony overlooking the dance floor, with strict instructions not to speak to anyone. The clientele were as curious as they were sparse in number. When I pointed out that two old ladies were dancing together, they were identified as spinsters. There was a mother teaching her young daughter dance steps, sometimes lifting her onto her own feet to give the girl the sense of the right rhythm. Commanding the floor with the competition dancers, who used the Saturday matinees for practice sessions. They jealously guarded their territory, intolerant of more frivolous obstacles like children. From my vantage point, their haughty expressions and sudden frozen poses seemed quite comical as they cocked their heads and made pecking movements with their necks like chickens. There could also be something quite intimidating about them, especially when they launched into a gallop during the quick-step. Foot soldiers fear cavalry charges for the same reason. There was nobody else up in the balcony except for the woman who checked coats and another who sold refreshments at the kiosk. I think my dad had charged one of them with checking on me from time to make sure I hadn't wandered off. She needn't have worried. My eyes were fixed on the bandstand.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?